So now I call upon Dr. Chandra Naik to give the presentation on the diagnosis of LS.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. B. M. Chandra Nayak from Institute of Animal Health and Veterinary Biologicals. I have been working in the institute from past 18 years. So today I will be speaking on lumpy skin disease, the clinical, differential, and laboratory diagnosis. So, as you know, lumpy skin disease is a pox viral disease of cattle characterized by fever, nodules on the mucous membranes and on the skin, and characterized also by enlarged lymph nodes and edema of the skin and sometimes death. And whatever I'm going to present today in this presentation is as per the disease pattern and all the listings that is being made in OE manual, terrestrial manual for animal diseases in OE 2018. So talking briefly about the epidemiology, the disease has got a morbidity of 10 to 20%. It can go up to very high as 80%. So mortality rate is quite low. It ranges from 1 to 5% and is considered usual. The incubation period of the disease is between 4 to 14 days and it may go up to 28 days at times. So the host is the host for LSDV is the cattle and sometimes the water buffaloes. So the one important thing about lumpy skin disease is that it's highly host specific, and from some of the studies in Ethiopia, it has been found that the Holstein region and other crossbred cattle exhibit more morbidity and also mortality compared to the local Zebu cattle. So there is no wildlife reservoir for lumpy skin disease virus, and most importantly, the LSDV is not zoonotic. So basically, the diagnosis is based on, like any other infectious disease, it's based on history, the clinical symptoms and lesions, and the laboratory confirmations. So coming to the history, most outbreaks of LSDV are sporadic and they eventually have a history of introduction of an infected animal or transmission or the transport of biting insects that have fed on infected cattle. For example, if you see carefully the history of the disease, it is believed that though the disease was first found in African nations, so it came to Gulf countries like Israel as the contaminated insects that were blown across Sinai desert, and that made the virus to spread from African nations to the Asian countries. So the other important thing we should remember is the transmission of the disease principally by means of an arthropod vector. So the vector could be the mosquitoes, the biting flies, especially the Stomachus calcitrans, and the male ticks. So the transmission is mechanically by the vectors, and there is no biological modification of the virus in these vectors. It is believed to be a mechanical transmission by these vectors. So now coming to the clinical diagnosis. So lumpy skin disease, it ranges from an inapparent or a mild infection to a very severe full-blown disease. So in any case, the disease starts with, like any infectious disease starts like with a fever, which may go up to 41 degrees centigrade, marked reduction in the milk yield in the lactating cattle, depression, anorexia, emaciation, then the symptoms of respiratory tract like rhinitis, conjunctivitis, and also we see excessive salivation. So immediately after 48 hours of onset of the febrile reaction, we start seeing the cutaneous nodules of 0.5 to 5 centimeter that appear all over the body, especially the head, neck, limbs, under the testicles and the perineum region. So one very important symptom of this disease is the enlarged superficial lymph nodes, the prescapular and the prefemoral lymph nodes. We can see very distinguishedly enlargement of these lymph nodes can be seen. So large nodules may become necrotic and eventually become fibrotic, and these fibrotic tissue, the necrosed fibrotic tissue can persist for several months, and they are called as stitch fast, and the scars will remain indefinitely, and of course the small nodules may resolve spontaneously without any consequences. So in these figures, what you are seeing is the, you can see the first figure, you can see the prefemoral lymph node being highly enlarged. You can see that, and the nodules all over the skin of the cattle. And then the second picture, you can see the what you call the pock lesions or the nodules all across the mammary gland. You can see that. And the other very important symptom that we see in this LSDV is that there is what is called as edema of the legs, and because edema will be there and the nodules will be there, it become ulcerate, means the lesions will become open and the animals are very much reluctant to move. It's a very important symptom that we have noticed during the current outbreak in our state too. So we can see meiosis of the nodules may occur. So the vesicles which starts on the skin will enter the, we can see the lesions and erosions all across the alimentary tract and also the trachea and the lungs. The limbs, as I told, they become, and other ventral parts become edematous and the animal will be reluctant to move. The bulls, especially the breeding stations, if you see, they become permanently or temporary, they can become permanently infertile or it may be temporary because the lesions are seen on the genital testicles as well. So in pregnant cows, they abort and they will be anesthetized for several months because all the even the metritis and the lesions will be seen in the uterus and other reproductive organs. Health and animals will be affected. Some will be affected and some may remain healthy. The healthy and the immunologically strong animals will show very mild infection or they may not show any symptoms at all. So the last 2 points are very important in the sense that the transmission by direct contact is minimal, it's very less. In the sense that an animal which is showing severe symptoms may not directly transmit the disease to a healthy animal beside it, and that's what we have seen, and also that has been explained in the previous literature as well. So it appears that the virus needs to enter the bloodstream of an animal to cause an active infection. So that's why the biting flies like the mosquitoes, the Stomachus calcitrans, the flies, and also the ticks, which actually inject the skin and enter into the blood. The virus may enter the bloodstream. In this context, actually, the needle transmission is a possibility. So the veterinarians should be very careful that when you use the needle for the infected animal, see that it will be thrown and it will not be used for any other health animal carefully. So coming to the postmortem lesions. So I think I believe most of the veterinarians who are listening here would have definitely done the postmortem of a sheep pox or a goat pox animal. You can see the lesions inside the carcass, inside the body of the animal is more severe than the lesions that we see outside on the skin of the animal. In the similar pattern, we can see that the lesions in LSD also. You can see the vesicles and the nodular lesions all across the alimentary tract. The first figure is the oral cavity. You can see the lesions, the ulcerative, what you can call the vesicular lesions in the oral cavity. Then the second, you can see the trachea where 2 lesions have coalesced to form a bigger lesion, coalescing mucosal macule. But so these are the clinical symptoms and also the disease. But see, the severe LSD is very characteristic in the sense you see the very prominent lesions on the body and also inside the organs you can see prominent lesions. But milder forms of the infection are definitely be confused, and also because this is a new disease and veterinarians who are not exposed to this disease, who have not seen this disease, definitely will have to rule out with the differential diagnosis of the different infections that I have enlisted here. So I'll go one by one, briefly telling about the important differential characteristics from the LSD with them. So the bovine mammallitis virus, this is also called a pseudo lumpy skin disease virus. It's caused by bovine herpes virus. It's a herpes virus infection, and the infection is milder and mostly it is restricted to the face. And the disease is not this strong, So on laboratory diagnosis, we can find that on this one we can confirm by PCR. There is no doubt. Even on the histopathology, we can see the bovine herpes virus causes intranuclear inclusion bodies, and the pox virus causes intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies that can be easily differentiated. And the second one is the pseudococcopox virus caused by parapox virus. This is something like what you see in ARF in sheep and goat. These are what I mean to say is this is a localized infection found only to the localized and only restricted to the udder, and we can definitely differentiate this infection. And the other important disease that we should keep in mind is the cowpox. And cowpox is again we can see milder infections on the face, and the lesions will be severe on the udder and the mainly on the udder. It's mostly restricted to the mammary gland. So this is again caused by orthopox virus. So what you should remember is that the nodular lesions what we see in LSD is characteristic of that disease only. So we do not see any other viral disease causing lesions of that intensity and that kind. So there is one infection called dermatophilosis caused by Dermatophilus congolensis. It's a bacterial infection, and one easy thing is it responds to antibiotic. Maybe in the future slides, other resource persons will talk about the treatment aspect, but antibiotics cannot control what I call LSD, but it is only to prevent secondary complications. But if it is a dermatophilosis, the similar, it's not nodules, but some eruptions we see on the body, it can be easily treated by the using higher antibiotics. The other important thing is to be differentiated dermatitis caused by mites. So we can see it causes a lot of rubbing and irritation, and we generally we see some generalized skin. You can see this figure. In the second figure, you can see lesions around on the face and on the near the eyes. But if it's too means in an advanced case of dermatitis, we can see some nodular lesions. But we can definitely this can be easily treated and by ivermectin or some other drugs. And animals will have a lot of irritation, means they will be rubbing on the wall, and these symptoms will be there. So other is the photosensitization, which produces on all the white regions, especially if you see these figures, you can understand. Even you can see the similar lesions on udder also. That confuses. And if the face is on the white, we see it as white patches, you can see the lesions. So wherever we can see these lesions, generalized lesions, but to start with it may confuse. But the nodular lesions of LSD is very characteristic, and we can definitely differentiate with photosensitization. So other important disease that we should differentiate and it produces similar symptoms is the ringworm infection caused by a fungal etiology, and it's not nodules, but from a distance the lesions look similar, but they are not nodular lesions. They are on the skin eruptions, and you can see these patches. It's not nodules or eruptions. You can see a distorted skin with patches, and that can be easily differentiated. And this will be treated. This can be treatable with fungicidal agents. So now coming to sample collection for laboratory confirmation. So the best sample for laboratory diagnosis is the scab, the skin scab. You can see in the image how to collect the nodular lesions. That contains the highest amount of virus. And in the blood is also a good source of the virus for the diagnosis and also for isolation, especially when the fever is very high and initial phase of the infection. The blood is a very good means of diagnosis, is a sample of diagnosis. And nasal swab and saliva also contain the virus, and they can also be submitted for the laboratory, and their material has to be sent to laboratory under cold chain conditions. Now coming to the diagnostic tests that are being So this slide tells about the polymerase chain reaction. So this is the OE approved, least expensive and the quickest mode of detection of lumpy skin disease virus in any of the clinical samples that we have collected that I showed in the previous slide. So what is important is a very simple technique wherein is a DNA virus and extraction of DNA should not be a problem like any other RNA virus. This is a very simple technique, and the primers to be used and the temperature time combination to be used has been described in detail in the OE manual on LSD, and it's a very simple technique. And this is the technique where which is being used for the initial and also confirmatory diagnosis of and then the other method is the virus isolation. This is the gold standard method which will ultimately confirm the presence of the virus, where we can adopt the virus for a chorioallantoic membrane of the environmental chicken eggs that you can see in the figure. And the other figure, what you are seeing on the right side, is the CP, the cytopathic effect produced by the LSD virus in the lamb testis cells, where it can be easily adapted for the virus to grow. The other technique is electron microscopy confirmation of the virus. This is a very good means of detection and confirmation of the virus, but it has got limitations that it cannot differentiate up to the level of genus or species, because except parapox viruses, all pox viruses looks same under electron microscopy. But however, this is a very good technique to diagnose if facilities are available for this confirmation by electron microscopy. And serological test. It's not possible to distinguish the three viruses in the Capripox genus, the sheeppox, the goatpox, and LSD by serological techniques. And a very important test can be adopted, and different versions of LSD are there. The serological test cannot differentiate the three different viruses. So this is probably the beauty of virology, where you are seeing that the three viruses are highly host specific, but still they can protect one another, and that's how the immunology and virology works in tandem. Probably very rarely we see these unique properties where the viruses do not infect the different species, but still they can cross protect one another. So these are the places from where I have collected the information. The OEE, the World Organization for Animal Health. So then the Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairy website, Government of India, and the Center for Food Security and Public Health, and also the animal virology textbook by Fenner. And thank you, and I thank you for giving me an opportunity to share the knowledge and the whatever we have learned from this outbreak.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra Naik, for a very elaborative, very informative presentation on the different forms of diagnostics and differential diagnosis. I am very much thankful to you. You have prepared very nicely for this. And I thank you again for your wonderful presentation, Dr. Chandra Naik.